my favorite sound. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited to have yet another one of our classes within our professional development series. So today we are going to be going over a lot of really great, useful information. We have some great guest speakers who are going to answer a lot of your questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started in talking about networking for your future. So let me make sure this is full screen. There we are. So just for a quick question for all of you, I see a handful of you on this call at the moment. So out of curiosity, what do you think networking is? It's for any of the students. You can come off of mute or you can post it in the chat.
I see networking as building like a group of people that you like are connected to that own like probably like major businesses that you just like grow connections to. So if you need anything from like any of those categories in the future, then you have somebody to call.
Yeah,
Not bad.
that's very good. Yeah, no, that's actually I'm not even gonna go off of that anymore. That was a pretty solid definition of it. Yeah, I mean, networking is really just building relationships with others, whether it is personal or professional use. But as Crosby mentioned, this is going to be those relationships that are going to help support you and benefit you. You're going to benefit them for, I mean, as long as you retain those relationships. Also, we have, let's see what we have in the chat. We have engaging and connecting with people with like-minded interests. Absolutely, that is exactly what networking is. So just kind of moving on, what networking is not. Networking is not only for adults. This is definitely something that's very misconstrued. This is not something you should be waiting on until you're out of college. This is something that should really be happening throughout your entire life. Networking is not only for business people. It is for everyone. As I mentioned, it's not just business networks, it's your personal network as well. It's just as important. Networking is not asking for a favor. That's no, that's not even part of it, really. It's those favors just come out of a mutual relationship. And it's not fake or being bragging. We'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. But what networking is being curious, being friendly, building that trust, staying in touch. A lot of those values, if you recall, are very similar to what Ullman's values are. So just building relationships, building friendships, building trust, and staying in touch with those individuals. So just a few quick tips that we have for networking. One, stay curious. Start with your curiosity. Good networks always start with a question, always listening. We can go on, this whole class could honestly be a couple of hours long if we wanted it to be, because there's so much involved with being a great networker, and we have some great speakers that are great networkers. But it all starts with just listening and asking that good question. Small conversations matter. This doesn't have to be a 3 hour long conversation. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. It could be 60 seconds. It could literally be 5 seconds. It's building that impression, and that's where you start building those relationships. It is not just a give. It's not giving everything. It's not taking everything from one person. It's a mutual relationship of support. It's about being authentic. Authenticity. We talked about this in one of our last classes. When you are not your true authentic self, that is the fastest way to ruin trust with someone. Networking is trust. And then consistency beats intensity. This is not, like I mentioned, this is not a 3 hour marathon session of trying to learn as much information and really drilling this person to try to build that support. It's a consistent relationship. It's a friendship. You all have friends. All of you have friends. I guarantee it's not going to be your friendship did not all happen within 5 minutes. You did not really hound them for 5 minutes straight, and that was your entire relationship. You have been friends with them probably for months, years, maybe your entire life. You've built that relationship over a long period of time. It's the exact same thing with networking. And definitely start now. Don't start like when you need it. I know this was something that I had issues with. I know a lot of individuals have this issue with we don't start until you think you need it, which is usually out of college. But by then it's too late. That's when you need the relationships, you need that network, but now you're just starting to build one. All right, so networking, as I mentioned, never ends. This is hopefully a lifelong relationship, something that you're going to be consistently connecting with someone with. It's not just that one-off conversation. It's those random messages here and there, sending that thank you message. If you have a conversation, thank you so much for having that conversation with me. This is what I learned, and I really appreciate it. It's about reaching out through email. I know probably Courtlynne and Sean will agree LinkedIn is a massive, massive asset when it comes to networking. It's about updating people just about your life. I do this. I have a personal mentor that I talk to every once in a while, and it's just updating each other on what's going on. Here's what I'm doing at work. Here's what's going on in my personal life. What's going on with you? It sounds a lot like a friendship because, again, that's what networking is. And it's talking about not just a one-off relationship. It's consistently seeing them, trying to meet up with them. Follow-ups turn into meetings, which turn into relationships. Sound familiar to some of our other classes? Hopefully. It all ties together. Well, perfect. So, a quick, simple formula when it comes to networking. You start with meeting, then you go to learning, then you follow up, then you stay connected, and then you help each other. Again, it's not one off. This is not a one-sided relationship. This is something that you and your network are going to be building together so you can help support each other. One key part of networking, this is one that I feel like a lot of students are not very comfortable with. And that's going to be your elevator pitch. Does anyone want to take a stab as to why it's called an elevator pitch? It's really self-explanatory.
Yeah, basically the concept is you're supposed to pitch yourself and what you do in the short time it takes to travel an elevator floor to floor and get people to be interested in who you are and what you're talking about.
Yeah, you guys are nailing it tonight. That's literally the perfect answer. No, that is exactly why it's called an elevator pitch. Back in the day, before LinkedIn, texting, all that fun stuff, a lot of times meetings would be held in that short period of time. That's the time between two different floors. That is the only amount of time that you had to make an impression on someone. So being able to work on your elevator pitch is working on introducing yourself confidently, understanding who you are, what your goal is within that short 20, 30, maybe 40 seconds that you might get. Your goal is to help explain your interests or goals, to help start that conversation. Your whole goal of an elevator pitch is to create that spark, to create that interest where now that person wants to continue talking with you. That's how people used to get jobs. That's how you make that impression to find that big job that you want, is that one short period of time that is an elevator pitch. So making it memorable, this is your first impression, but it also, again, helps others to understand who you are, where you're coming from, and why you're even talking to them. So it's not bragging. Please do not brag about yourself. I'll say it's confined bragging. It's telling people who you are, but not being that super crazy, like this is what I do with everything. It's just the small things about who you are, not obviously bringing yourself down. It's more about simply just explaining who you are, what you care about, and where you come from. This is something that I really highly encourage all students to work on, especially as you were going through So Do We. Understand, we talked about your why. Understand your why. Being able to articulate that within a 20 to 30-second period. This is the best way as you're going out within your community when you're telling people about what you're doing with the So Do We program. This is the best way to do it. Giving yourself 20 to 30 seconds, say, hey, here's who I am. This is So Do We, and this is why I'm doing it, and this is why it's important. If you're able to confidently do that, you'll be very, very surprised how many people want to support you because they know what you're actually doing. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. All right, so I really wanted to save most of our time today for our panel discussion. We have two unbelievable individuals, both who are on our young adult board here at Ullman Foundation. I've heard only great things about their networking capabilities. Yeah, Courtlynne, unfortunately, I have heard two of her colleagues in the next room over, and they're like, yeah, obviously Courtlynne's going to be doing this. So I want to make sure you all take advantage of the panel that we have today. They are fantastic. They're here to answer as many questions as they can. But just wanted to kick it off. I wanted to let both Courtlynne and Sean take a moment to introduce themselves and tell everyone a little bit more about who you are and why you're doing this. Any of you want to volunteer to go first?
Go for it, Courtlynne.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Courtlynne. I'm actually from Potomac, Maryland, but I now live in Fells Point, right next to our headquarters at Brown Advisory. I went to the Potomac School in McLean, Virginia. And then I got recruited to play lacrosse. I went to UVA to play lacrosse. I minored in media studies and I majored in media studies, minored in entrepreneurship. And then I went and got my master's in business, and I did my 5th year for lacrosse because I was there during COVID. So we were some of the kids that got an extra year. And I luckily got an internship through networking at Brown Advisory. And then I got a return offer after I finished my master's. I've been at Brown almost 3 years in June. And I absolutely love it. I got involved with Ullman through one of my colleagues, actually, Jay, who's cooking at the house right now. I went and I cooked with him one night, and I absolutely loved it, loved the mission. And now we've been doing different collabs and cooking for the house and doing different run clubs and things like that. So I'm really excited to be talking to you guys.
Nice. I'm Sean Sunderland. I am a native of Detroit, but I've been in Baltimore for about 17 years. I do not know how I still qualify as a young adult or for that kind of thing, but hey, happy to do it. Happy to have a couple more years. Um, my career has really been defined by networking. It's really interesting when I think back to when I first came to the area, I knew nobody, right? And it was all about who could I get to pick up the phone or answer an email. And from there, built a network of people that were looking out for me, willing to give me advice, willing to give me references, recommendations, introductions to companies. And from there, I was able to get some jobs. But I actually started my business when I met my business partner at a networking event, Kapauza, back in the day. I ran that. It was a 7-year-old marketing agency, but now I do director of marketing for idfive, which is an integrated marketing firm. But relationships and networking is key to how I do business. Really, I am concerned about representing myself and my firm as someone that someone wants to work with, right? So when I go to conferences, when I go to networking events, happy hours, whatever have you, I'm finding the right people that need to know who I am or need to know what my business can do and what they can offer them. So I've got a lot of experience in networking. I love to go shake hands, kiss babies, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, always very excited by this opportunity. I've been involved with Ullman Foundation for quite a bit. I was a member of the Game Changers program back in 2019, right before COVID. They were a client for Kapauza. We did some very nice video work for them back in the day, and I actually live 2 blocks away from the Ullman house. So I'll probably head right back up there and see if you got any leftovers in a little bit here. But thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
There are tons of leftovers, so you are more than welcome to come by.
Awesome.
Um,
Great.
well, perfect. So now that you all have a better understanding of our panel, I would love to open the floor. Of course, you can put your questions in the chat. You can send it to me directly, or if you want to come off mute, you can absolutely ask questions there. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. For our panel, what are some of the bigger mistakes that you see when it comes to networking?
Yeah. Do you mind, Courtlynne, if I tackle this one real quick?
Yeah.
So I hate viewing networking as transactions. I used to know a guy who would shake your hand, and as soon as you pulled your hand away, somehow his business card was in it. It's not a good look to just go out there and just be very verbose and upfront about this is who I am, and you need to hire me, and I'm great, and yada yada yada. No one really wants to hang out with that person. No one really wants to ask any questions and learn more about that person. So be humble, be open to the conversations. I really like the tips that you showed earlier. I think that hits a lot of the good points. But don't just look at it as a way to collect business cards. If you kids are going to use business cards, I don't know now. But it's definitely about the beginning stages of forging hopefully mutually beneficial relationships, and it needs to be treated with that level of respect.
Totally. I completely agree. I would add, I was actually one of the leads of our intern program this past summer at Brown. And I think a lot of kids would ask people to go on coffee chats or get lunch or go for a walk. And most of the time, there were certain kids that would talk about themselves the entire time and barely asked a question. I think when you're first starting out, like in whatever job it is, whatever conversation it is when you're young. I think it's better to be the one to ask questions and be curious and be authentic, really listening and like show that you're engaged, like not going on your phone and things that just seem like you really care about what the person's talking about. And the kids that did that stood out way more than the ones that were going on and on about themselves. Honestly, I still am the one that asks questions when I ask someone to get coffee.
Right.
So that's the way I see it.
I think silence is hugely underrated when it comes to networking. I think the idea of an elevator pitch is really great for someone who is job motivated, just fresh and looking for a career and looking for a job. But I have learned so much more from people and made much better connections by allowing that space to exist, having breaths, and then letting them kind of come to the table with a question. Asking questions of people and seeing them get excited that they get to share what they do or share an idea with you, that's really where you're building that genuine, authentic relationship for sure.
Perfect. So how do you approach someone you don't know?
Yeah, I can take this one first.
Go for it.
I would say, well, I've been in rooms where there's hundreds of people, people have name tags. It's pretty awkward. I honestly hate approaching someone that I don't know. If I am with someone that knows people there, I'll have them come up and be like the buffer to introduce me to someone. Like, hey, do you mind introducing me to this person if they know it? And that's just a natural way for someone to be like, hey, this is Courtlynne. Courtlynne works at Brown. And that's more natural. I'd also say, you know, you guys have probably your own networks already that you don't even realize, your friends' parents, your teachers. And there's a lot of connections out there that even if you don't fully know them, I think even sending off an email that like shows a connection to something or someone is an easy way to start a conversation with someone. Like even if you're on LinkedIn and you're looking at like people that went to your high school or people that went to a certain college, you can weasel that out, and that's an easy like, hey, I'm at this thing, you can relate off of it. I found that to be helpful.
Yeah, I think leaning into just the general uncomfortableness of a mass networking event or even some small intimate ones where you're like, where's all the people? What are we doing here? Right? There's time and place for those things, but I think being willing to admit the elephant in the room of being uncomfortable or nervous or shy is a nice way to engender some feelings of support, right? I like to believe in the two's company, three's a crowd kind of rule. So if you see two people and they kind of maybe are on the outskirts of a conversation or ending, maybe just kind of saddle up to them. I also am a firm believer in if someone's alone and they're looking very nervous and scared on the periphery, go shoot a few questions their way, see what happens, right? I think that there's nothing wrong with admitting that sometimes these situations and these events can be overwhelming or ludicrously, there's bad food, there's bad music, maybe the lighting's too dark, whatever, right? Be willing to kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit, and you might, make a real good friend or a real good connection from that.
Yeah, Ben, what's your question?
My question is, if you had to think of your network as, a portfolio, how do you kind of decide when to invest in new relationships versus kind of diversifying, the ones you already have? Because I was thinking about this as it relates to me because I've been working through an internship for the last 3 years at Hopkins, and like my whole network is through that. And going to college next year. I might be going to Maryland. I might be going to Hopkins. Who knows where I'm going? But kind of leveraging those things. Do you think I should kind of, invest, find new people at whatever university I decide to go to, or, kind of leverage the ones I have and kind of find my way through those people?
I think it's both, sometimes neither, sometimes both, right? I think that your network is not just who you know, but who they know, right? It's that extension, that 3 degrees of separation. So perhaps you have a good network of those individual connections, but have you really tried to dig deeper and say, well, who do they know? LinkedIn is fantastic with that. The second level connections, the third level connections. I've gotten a lot of introductions just by going that route of saying, hey, you know what? This is a company that I would love to talk with, or I think that we could do. I saw their billboard and I want to do some different things with them, Do you feel comfortable enough to introducing me, right? So I never think it's a wrong time to meet new people, but it's also there's always a good time to reinvest in your existing relationships because those people are also going through the same thing that you're going through, right? They're going out, they're meeting different people, they're going to different events, they're making different connections. And just because you saw them on Tuesday, well, maybe they had a really great meeting on Wednesday, and that's someone that you probably might, see some benefit in connecting with too. So there's no harm in kind of taking a look and stock and seeing, here's what I've got and here's what it gets me, what's missing, and then kind of going and hunting from there of what you think would round out your network.
Yeah, I agree. I also think there's no harm staying connected to your current network. Every so often, hey, how are things? How are things
Yeah.
going? You want to catch up over the phone. It doesn't need to be super frequent because you're going to be busy meeting a bunch of new people. And I think once you get to college, like really take advantage of that time while you're there. You're going to be probably where your 2 feet are more, where you can join clubs, go see a speaker or go to an event. And I think those are great ways to also expand your network while staying in touch with your current one.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you for the question, Ben.
Just got another really good question in the chat. How would you suggest approaching people as a young person and knowing that adults do not always take us as seriously?
For me, it would be about have a purpose for why you're going out and connecting in the first place, right? Are you looking for a mentor? Are you looking for career advice? Are you looking perhaps to invest yourself in finding out a different club or different college, right? So have a purpose and not just I'm here and I'm looking to meet people. Well, why? What is the benefit to you being at this event? What is the benefit to the person that's talking with you? I think as a young person, it shows me a lot that they're willing to put themselves out there and ask for help. I don't feel like that's also used as effectively as it could be. I definitely feel like if you're very clear on what you need or how I could help you, there's no issue in approaching someone that's older like that.
I also find that most adults want to be a mentor or be there to answer questions. Like
Absolutely.
I love talking and mentoring. Of course, there's like the minority that doesn't like to do that, but I really don't think you should be too intimidated because everyone wants to help out. And even if you're just interested in learning what they do and you're showing just like you looked them up and you actually care about what they're doing, just asking questions and being curious goes a long way as well. Even if you're not at the time for a job, but you want to start having a relationship or learn about the industry, or a day to day in their world.
I think I do this kind of stuff because I was in your shoes once upon a time, right? Granted, I didn't start as early as high school, so kudos to all you guys trying to do this now. As a college graduate, even while I was still a college student, I had made all these connections with Michigan companies, thinking, well, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to work at this firm, I'm going to do this internship. Economic downturn happens. You guys probably weren't even born by that time, right? But I had to go and reestablish myself in a new market, meeting new people that were willing to give me the time of day to explain how they could help me and what they needed to see from me. And that's something I am always going to be wanting to pay forward, right? I think people like myself and Courtlynne and perhaps to some extent, your teachers, your future professors, or whatever, they had perhaps a really great beneficial mentor-mentee relationship when they needed it most, and they're willing to pay it forward. And I think hopefully you guys will get to a position in your career where you could do this. You can be in my seat, come 5 or 10 years from now, right? I think, yeah, it's always great to kind of see that people are willing to kind of extend a hand down and bring people with them, for sure.
Any advice for someone who is more shy or more nervous talking to others?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, oh,
you
sorry, go
go.
ahead.
No, you can go.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I think it's just being out there and be like, hey, I'm shy, or hey, it's my first networking event. I used to love hearing that. I used to love hearing, oh, I got brought by so and so. They're, it's my new job. I don't really understand what to do with networking. I love to hear that kind of stuff. Again, like just being honest and open about who you're meeting, people are going to want to help you. I think that's just natural to a relationship marketing, relationship mindset in building a network. So it's okay if you're shy. It's okay if you're nervous. I think the worst thing you can do for yourself is let those emotions hold you back from potentially making a really valuable connection. Admit that you're nervous, admit that you're shy, admit that this is your first time, whatever. You're going to find the right people that are going to be there to shepherd you through to the next chapter.
Yeah, I would add that networking takes practice. Like I was
Absolutely.
always nervous, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome where I was thinking, oh, I shouldn't be here. I'm not the smartest here. I shouldn't, I don't deserve this job. But that's not the case. And I've learned that like you can put yourself in uncomfortable situations and fake it till you make it. And
Oh,
honestly,
absolutely.
you'll figure it out. But if you're shy, I also think there's obviously a scale of being shy. So like I started off shy, but to work on that, I went to like low stake situations where maybe it's other peers that are my age and I'm putting myself out there at a club, or I'm going to a certain event and talking to people that aren't as senior. And I think like you'll build that practice, and then as you get older, it won't be so intimidating, and you'll be like, oh, I've been there, done that.
Courtland, I have a question for you, but sorry
Mhm.
to interrupt here. Did you think you'd be doing what you do now, networking and stuff like that, or was this something thrust upon you? Because that's my bad. That's
Yeah,
what my
no,
experience was
no,
too.
I'm there with you.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I didn't even think I'd be in finance. I did not think I'd be on a panel or talking
yeah,
about networking. This was all foreign to me. So it's
yeah.
amazing you guys are already doing this.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like I wish I had done this earlier, right? Like the
Mhm.
things that I did in college or the little jobs I had here and there that prepared me to be a better speaker in public. I did some acting in college as well. Like all that's going to help and kind of benefit it, but I never thought this was going to be a key part, a key function of my job, which is relationship management and going out and meeting new people and bringing them back into, right? So yeah, it's great that you guys are getting experience or at least have an interest in this topic because this is something that gets easier over time, right? It's like riding a bicycle at the end of the day. It's really you're going to find the shorthands. You're going to, find the people that are consistently at your events or in your clubs, right? You're going to find those people. You're going to nurture those relationships, and then that's going to open you up to completely new worlds.
I also just want to add, I think if you have the opportunity to take like a public speaking course or anything that relates to communications or like networking like this, I would fully take it. I took a public speaking course my senior year at UVA, and it was probably the most helpful, like real life applicate that I've taken at UVA. So if you can take something like that, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, and I know I asked the question, but I also do have an answer for it as well. Because those of you who have worked with me for a little bit, I know there's a couple on here I've known for years. They know that when I was your age in high school, public speaking, networking, that was never going to happen. That was not an option. I avoided it at every single cost. It wasn't until I was in college. I was in a fraternity. Yes, I was actually in charge of all recruitment for all fraternities. So I had to do presentations. I went from not doing presentations at all, doing presentations from thousands of people who were getting tours of campus. So yeah, getting thrust into it, really getting that experience. And I'm really going to date myself with this one answer. Does anyone remember the movie We Bought a Zoo?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's like
come on.
15 years old, but it's a great movie if you haven't seen it. Fantastic movie. But there's one part of it that he really talks about, and it's finding that 7 seconds of courage. And that's what I do when it comes to networking, when it comes to building a new relationship. You just need 7 seconds of courage to step outside of your comfort zone, to be uncomfortable. And then once that 7 seconds is done, everything just happens. It's so much easier after that. So I know it's definitely a cheesy movie. It's a great movie. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. But it's those 7 seconds that can absolutely change your entire life just by taking that little bit of courage. I know that was a weird answer, but
I did not expect the Matt Damon vehicle we bought a zoo to come up in this conversation. I'm so glad it did. That's great.
it
What a
just
reference.
I
You know
I
that movie where they buy a zoo? Yeah, it's great.
hey, it's an all-star cast, so definitely
Sure.
check it out. So how much should you? I know you guys talked about this before. It's just as important as talking as in listening. Do you have like how much you should talk versus how much you should listen?
Personally, I try and do 70-30, 60-40, right? I want to always be either asking the question, getting them excited and charged to then talk at me or ask me a question. I definitely want the other person to kind of lead the conversation and see where we go. Sometimes it's not happening and you have to kind of step in and kind of mold it. Other times you're going to realize, oh, you know what, this person's really not a good fit for me, or this isn't something that, I could see a mutual benefit from here. We'll kind of cut our losses and move on. But I definitely feel like it's a dance. You gotta ride that train, of course. But I think you always should at least make the effort to allow the other person to eat up more air than you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on the person as well.
Yep.
Like some people you can tell right away are going to be more talkative, or maybe they're not. Or, I'll usually start with the question and see. Sometimes they ask, "What about you?" Or they'll ask a question after they answer it. Sometimes they don't. And then I get the sense, okay, I'm going to have to do more of the carrying here, but that's okay. It's just more practice. Um, so yeah, I just think it depends on the person, but I try to be the one that's not talking as much on a scale.
So then, how do you turn a conversation into a real connection?
Yeah, for me, I actually this might be a bad answer, but I don't really use LinkedIn that much. Like I connect with people, but I'm not messaging much over LinkedIn as much as I am. If I meet someone in person, I usually exchange like information, either email or a phone number. I personally have found that more helpful, and a follow up for me is a lot easier. I just think more people tend to check, at least in my experience, check their emails or texts more than LinkedIn messages. So usually if you finish a conversation, hey, I'd love to stay connected. I'd love to do this again. Or if you have anyone that you think I should connect with, like, could we exchange information, or is there someone you could put me in touch with? That's a good segue to meet another person in the industry or at the school or whatever it is, to wrap up the convo.
I think for me, it's I fully subscribe to the idea that it takes multiple touches for someone to truly understand who you are and what you could do. So if I'm meeting someone out at a conference or at a networking event first, I'm going to get their contact information. I'll send an email maybe in the next couple days after that. I'll follow up if I don't hear from them on LinkedIn and connect with them. But a lot of my LinkedIn is informing people what's going on, or I'm sharing other things with my network, valuable perhaps events that I've been to. But I think you can only get really deep on a one-on-one. And it is not for a conference, or it is not for a networking happy hour, or whatever have you, to get deep really quickly, right? You should be making a conversation, understanding, planting some seeds, baiting some hooks, seeing what sparks for that other person, and then using that in a follow-up to then go deeper and dive deeper and say, it's worth a more of a formal conversation after this. But it's up to you to do the follow up. It's up to you to kind of keep track. There are a lot of tools out there. I'm a big believer in HubSpot. If you haven't heard of HubSpot yet, take a look at it. It's a CRM. I am able to track people that I've met, make little reminder notes for myself to kind of follow up. System tells me when those alerts are up, or I'll set an alert on my calendar. They'll do it that way too. But it's a really good, easy way to do it. Yes, still have a ton of business cards. I've got a whole shoebox of them at the office. And every once in a while, I just love kind of sifting through it and being like, when's the last time I talked to this guy? Or you know what, I really connected with this person. It might be worth checking in if they're A, still at that job, or B, if they moved up, and what else could I help with them now? So I think maintaining and trying to keep in your head everyone that you've met and how who you need to go deeper with. put that on paper, put that on a computer. I'm sure ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you guys are using nowadays will help you out that way too.
I also think if you can remember something you talked about too, just as a follow up as well to stay connected. Like, say you
Absolutely.
talked about the Orioles, or you talked about the Ravens, or anything that you remember. Or sometimes I even write down things that after I met someone and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, remember this. And then a month goes by, whatever, I follow up with them, and maybe I'm sharing a news story that I saw, or some post, and I'm like, oh, remember this? It was so great catching up with you. This made me think of you. Love to see you again. I just think that's showing like you paid attention, you're authentic, and shows that like you paid attention.
Yeah. Everyone that I meet, if I get their card, I will tend to write a note on it and say either where I met them or some non sequitur, something funny that we might have talked about, whatever, and use that as a follow up to kind of show them that, I'm keeping them top of mind or they're in my head in some way. I think it's just a nice way to kind of say that I'm committing to this, and I hope that you know, send the olive branch right back at me.
And then for more of a modern world, again, most students live off of social media. I kind of already know where Courtlynne stands on this. Should students be using LinkedIn?
I
I,
say yes.
yeah, I still say yes. I definitely think everyone should have a LinkedIn. I don't know if it's the best way to get a job or all the time. That's all I mean. But it's always helpful to have LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think LinkedIn's a great way to maintain connections.
Mhm.
I do not use it for cold calling, if you guys are familiar with the term, right? Of finding somebody and out of the blue sending them a message. If I do that research, I'm looking at a different way to connect with them, maybe either a phone call or an email or something like that. But very rarely am I sending a cold connection or without at least, hey, this is what I'm doing, or I'm reaching out because of this and sending in a message. LinkedIn has got a lot of, premium tools, let's just say. You probably don't need that at this stage in your career, but I think it's worth it for you guys to kind of understand how the platform operates, so that you can kind of consider, who are the people that it's showing me, what kind of topics am I being thrown at, and how am I going to use this to benefit my network as well.
A quick challenge to all of you who are on this call: if you don't have a LinkedIn, sign up and add Courtlynne, add myself, add Sean. We're
Absolutely.
guarantee more than willing to network with you. And you'll see all the connections that we have that, again, now once you connect with us, you will have those connections as well. And then again, from that modern networking era, how do you network without social media?
Yeah, again, shoebox of cards. I used to have a little bulletin board behind me and push pins. Again, it's a lot easier to do when you take it offline, but online tools of keeping in touch with people, it's always going to be a nice kind of other side of the coin. But there's so much you can do without technology, just going physically to places. I got invited to a very small event earlier this week with a local nonprofit, and it was a great time. I got to, hear directly from leadership about what they were doing, what they needed. I got to meet other people that were already committed to their cause, so that was already a level of commonality there. So being willing to at least, put the gas money in, be able to walk to it, take some public transit, whatever, be a boots on the ground kind of guy, or professional woman, being willing and able to kind of meet them where they're at, I think is a really powerful tool that's never going to go out of style.
Ben, you had a question?
Yeah. I was just wondering how much time do you think is necessary to put into, making your LinkedIn page look professional and like the aesthetics of it, having all the different subsections. I dropped mine in the chat. If you wanted to look, yeah, a little criticism and feedback. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's used featured articles there. Look at this. Ben, this is great. Honestly, This is exactly what I would expect for someone at your education level, at your career level. It gives me a good sense of where you've been, where you want to go, what you're doing right now. I always think it's always time to make a major update or invest some time in improving your LinkedIn at certain career milestones. Obviously, we're talking about promotions. We can talk about new jobs, all that kind of stuff. Certifications are always a good time, but you've got it, man. You've got a custom header image. You got a professional looking image there, profile icon. You share right away two things that are important for you that you've been involved in. That's fantastic. Back in my day, I don't even know if LinkedIn still cares about recommendations, but if I had a nickel for every time a manager is like, ask me for a recommendation on LinkedIn, I don't know. I don't even know if they use them anymore. Like the stuff on mine is like, I've got a professional headline of who I am and what I want to connect with. I'll throw mine in the chat a little bit as well, but a concise about page and then it's some useful links before you getting into who I am and what I've done. But no, I think this is a great start, Ben. You don't need to do this. You don't need to touch your profile. It's really more about how you are posting on your timeline or interacting with other posts that you're seeing coming into you.
All right, thank you so much.
I think my profile picture was like a freshman year photo of me at 14 years old playing lacrosse in my lacrosse uniform that I cut. So, I mean, the fact you have that good of a photo is great. But yeah, I think anything that highlights your school, your interests, if you volunteer anywhere, any awards that you've been given, like thinking of it like a resume just on LinkedIn, that highlights anything that you're proud of. Which it looks like it's great.
Thank you.
I'd also just add, I was just thinking about your last question of the non LinkedIn, how you do it in person. I have found that as I started my career and even at UVA, maybe to a fault, that I say yes to a lot of things. Like my friends like, hey, will you come to this with me? Hey, do you want to join this? Hey, I tend to just say yes and I figure it out if it's not for me. But I think just putting yourself out there, especially while you're young and you're not tied down to like a lot of stresses yet. I mean, you will, of course, but I think take advantage of the time if you have it to try new things, say yes to things, and you might meet people that way organically without any technology needed.
Yeah. There's a lot of networking, there's groups, there's a lot of networking events that are always happening. I would say protect your time as well. Yes, this is a worthwhile skill to do, but it should become or will become very apparent when you go to an event. And Courtlynne, I'm sure you've been at some of these where you show up and I'm like, oh, I should not be here. This is not my kind of event, or this is not a place where I'm going to find value for my network. Don't feel like just because you're committed to something, you need to see it through if it's really putting you out of your place, I'd say. But there's plenty of events happening. Don't feel like you got to be out all the darn time, like every night. That's no good. You're gonna burn yourself out. I think I threw a lot earlier in my career because I didn't know what it was like, right? I wanted to try a lot of different things, and from there I would say, okay, you know what, I'm done with this kind of event for a while, or you know what, this was a really valuable thing. I want to invest in doing more of these, and you'll kind of see what balance you have to bring to your calendar to kind of fulfill what you want to do. But also, yeah, protect yourself, protect your time. These are very tiring sometimes as well.
So a big part of networking is and building those relationships is potentially finding a mentor. So
Yeah.
how do mentors usually form?
Yeah, for me, mine have come pretty naturally. Just I didn't even realize that they were mentors until I was then leaning on them for things that I needed advice for, and it happened just organically. I think mentors are super important. It's really what we say at Brown, at least, is like it's about who you know, not what you know. And so getting your foot in the door somewhere can even just be from a mentor helping you get your foot in the door somewhere or introducing you to someone. So for me, I've maintained certain relationships of I have a couple mentors that they might not even know I call them my mentors that are in DC, that when I'm in DC, I message them, hey, I'm in DC, like, would love to see you. Let's grab a coffee. When I'm in New York, I have someone that I go to. And I just think it's important to have a mentor of someone that you want to be like. So there's a lot of people that will preach things to you as you navigate your life. And it's important to have mentors that you want to be like, or you like their career. Just that it's purposeful and meaningful.
I think all the mentor relationships and mentor-mentee relationships that I've had have been mutually beneficial. Oftentimes it's a former boss, oftentimes it's a former supervisor, but it's someone that's willing to be honest with you, even when it's uncomfortable. A good mentor should be willing to hold your feet to the fire, hold you accountable for things, not just be there to placate, not just be there to, kind of sprinkle you with fairy dust and say you're doing a wonderful job. Someone that's really going to test you, and also be there to help you celebrate when it's due time for those kind of occasions. Um, these are naturally forming, but often it is someone. I really agree with you, Courtlynne. It's someone that you look up to or you aspire to be, perhaps in some way.
Great. We have time for a couple of more questions. Again, if you have a question, please put it in the chat, send it to me, or come off mute. One question that we got is, oh, I just lost it. That's not good. Yes. So what is the best way for students to open doors for their future?
Number one, know what doors you want to open, if that makes sense. I think high school and especially college is a great time to try many different things, a variety of different things. You guys are never going to be in another place in your life where it feels limitless as to where you could go in your career, your educational, whatever. Have some idea of what you want to do, even if it's not ending up what you want to ultimately do, or you get in there, you'd be like, this isn't the room for me, and back out. I originally thought I was going to be a journalist. When I first left high school. And then when I went to college, I figured out, oh, public relations sounds like a lot more fun, and I can do this and do this. And then now I'm doing, sales and marketing, right? So it's a very different, windy road. But at least I had some sort of guiding idea or guiding principle as to where I should start looking. So I would take stock of what innate skills you feel like you have in general, right? You're a good writer. You're a good public speaker. You're prompt. You're great with timelines. You're really great organized, right? These are all kind of questions you can kind of ask yourselves to start kind of figuring out, what does this take me? Where does this take me? What does a career look like in that? Will that be fulfilling for me? And then you can start making inroads about the type of network you want to do to pick the brains of those people that are there, those aspirational kind of careers.
Yeah, definitely. I think staying open-minded too, like
Yeah.
sometimes things don't work out the way you think, or you don't get into the college that you wanted, and just trying to find the positive side of things, like just keeping a good attitude in life. I believe
Absolutely.
in what you put out comes back to you. And so, just you're going to have bad days, you're going to have good days, trying to stay level-headed and open-minded about things. I think high school can feel like everything, like what classes you're in. Are you in the AP classes? Are you in this class? When I look back on it, I don't even remember any of it. I don't remember the grades I got, honestly, at all. I just remember about like the experiences and the relationships. And
Absolutely.
then I know getting into college is stressful, but you will get there. You will go to college. And then in college, I think try new things and you'll soon figure out what you like more than you don't like. And then start to take your classes that gear towards that. You'll probably have to pick your major by your sophomore year. It changes for every school, but you know, some people shoot for the stars and do like a really hard major and then they can't do it and their GPA fails. I think just being smart about like what you're interested in and where you realistically see yourself doing well, because then it's not really as you just want to be able to maintain a good GPA and then get a good internship, and it all works out. It will always work out. But yeah, I think just staying open-minded, keeping a good attitude, and building your relationships is really the most important.
I think you really got to give yourself the grace to fail also. Again, no career path is straightforward ever. I don't care what you say. You can look at Mark Cuban. I'm sure he did hundreds of thousands of things before he got to where he is today. And I certainly had a very winding path to get where I am today. Um, and some of the things that I've taken and learned the most from are things that mistakes that were made or missteps, because that showed me, okay, you know what? That's not where I want to be, or that's not where I want to go. And how do I get better from this? And allowing yourself to understand and how to be resilient enough to bounce back from failure or mistakes or missteps. That's going to be such a great soft skill to develop for some of these career paths for sure.
Great. So final question. I don't see anything else in the chat. Any final pieces of advice for high schoolers?
You know, enjoy being a kid still. I saw some news articles recently that there's an eroding sense of, you're very young and then all of a sudden you have to be an adult or a young teenager or whatever. And you really have to take some time to enjoy some of the more pivotal moments of a childhood, of a young adulthood, and don't feel like you can't be a kid sometimes. Um, Allow yourself to play, allow yourself to be creative and try different things. Because, I'm staring back and there's definitely things I can look at and say, man, it was great to do this. And man, it was wonderful and so carefree to do all these things. And, I'm not stuck in a suit right now, but I definitely think I think that there should be more of an effort for kids to be kids for a little bit longer and enjoy what that means for a little bit longer before you try and join the workforce. The jobs are going to be there, unless AI takes everything. So who knows there? But allow yourselves to be kids. Allow yourselves to take some time with yourselves, and don't hurry up and get to where we are today because you can't do it.
Yeah, completely. I know everything feels so big right now. Each decision
Yeah.
you make feels so big, but I really do miss being in high school or being younger. It really is true. Like time goes by really fast, even though right now it feels slow. Before you know it, like you'll be in college and then it blinks and then you're in the working field. So like make the most out of it and like take some risks and do things that make you happy. And then I would just add, just again on the networking piece, like I truly got my job through networking by going to different events, like where I was putting out my resume to alumni at UVA, and I I tapped into the lacrosse network, put it out to the lacrosse alumni, looking for an internship, and then I connected with people in that alum, and that carries a lot of weight. So like something I did was I'd write down all my connections I have. So Potomac School, UVA, certain things that I associate to that, okay, these are my networks, these are my fields that I can tap into. And I still do that to this day. And even if like maybe I make a career jump or I'm looking to get a client at Brown or something like that, I have my network that I've worked on and built, and it grows and it grows. So yeah, I think enjoy your childhood and where you are right now, and then start to figure out what you're interested in, and it will all work out.
Perfect. Well, we are coming up on time now, so we will end it a few minutes early. Well, thank you all so much for coming tonight. So many great questions. A huge thank you to Courtlynne and Sean. That was some fantastic information. I'm really looking forward to watching this again later. But really excited. Yeah, absolutely. Round of applause to both of you. It was an absolutely fantastic session. If anyone has any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I know Sean put his LinkedIn in the chat. We will
Yeah,
also, if
please.
Courtlynne's okay. We'll add it in the follow-up email as well. So everyone will have that access to connect and network with both of them. But if you ever have any questions at all, Courtlynne actually put her email address in there too.
I'm gonna add my
Yeah,
LinkedIn
she's
too.
going all out with that. No, she doesn't. LinkedIn is not for for cold calls. So find the best way to connect. If you ever have any questions with networking, if you're ever looking for networking opportunities, we always know of something that's going on. There's always a ton going on in the area. And again, even with the So Do We, learning how to network, learning how to work on your elevator pitch to let people know what's going on. This is a great way to network. It's not something that a lot of people really think about, but while you're fundraising, while you're talking to people about why you're being a part of Ullman, you're networking. You're building relationships with people that probably have a like mind where maybe they also want to help young adults who are going through cancer. So now you've built that relationship and you can start networking, building mentorship from there as well. But again, thank you all so much for joining tonight. We really appreciate it. For those who are going to be at our event on Friday to volunteer for Blue Jeans Bow Ties, we are very much looking forward to you being there as well. For those of you who are not, who are interested, we still have like 3 or 4 spots that are still available. I know Courtlynne's definitely going to be there with Brown Advisory. It's going to be an absolutely fun event. So if you are interested, please let me know. But we're going to go ahead and give you back a couple of minutes early tonight. Thank you all so much again. Have a great rest of your night and have a great week.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.